Tricky to say. We are the first new quiet zone in Maryland.
Joe Rosenberg moved to Kensington 10 years ago, and for the first time this summer, he might be able to sleep with his windows open. That's because trains that pass the crossover on Forest Glen Road in Silver Spring are no longer required by law to sound their horns.
There's a train. You can see how close there.
Oh.
And notice he's not blowing the horn.
Establishing the state's first quiet zone. It was Council President Valerie Irvin who helped Rosenberg with his cause after years of trying to silence those horns.
Council member Valerie Irvin picked up the ball when it was pretty much dropped after the hearing in front of the Transportation and Environment Committee. We had what we thought was a solution, which was the wayside horn. CSX said they didn't want anything to do with it because it wasn't something that their people were all that familiar with. We requested another study to be done by the county. I explained the situation to Valerie Irvin. I expect she had some conversation behind the scenes to make sure that this other study was done. So she helped get the process going again. We managed to finally get the quiet zone.
The CSX freight train horns, which can blast some 40 to 60 times a day, are not supposed to sound around Forest Glen Road unless there's an emergency. That according to an agreement with the County Council and federal rail authorities. Operators who do not comply can be subject to fines.
Now tell me, where is somebody on the tracks that requires this? Tell me why he's blowing it. This is a perfect example of why they really need to be monitored, because there's no reason for him to have blown the horn. They're not supposed to blow the horn unless there's a specific safety reason for doing so. Somebody's on the tracks, there's a car approaching the tracks. You saw nothing there. There was nothing there. This was typical of CSX because they just don't care. They simply don't care.
The county's transportation department installed a median barrier, additional lights, and signage near the crossing to improve safety.
But here, it's a highly residential area. That's an industrial area. It's not very highly traveled. And, you know, cars just can't go very fast here. The road is narrow, it's bumpy and so forth. But there's no reason why they have to blow the horn with these deterrents from people driving around the extended gate arm.
Rosenberg's quest wasn't without hurdles. When he moved to Leduc Drive in Kensington back in 2000, he worked to commission a study with the county's Department of Public Works. He and other residents also sent petitions to state highway and federal railroad officials. However, most seem reluctant to spend money on safety improvements required to silence the horns. Councilmember Irvin took up the neighborhood's cause in 2008 when the group approached her. She worked to gain the necessary approvals for a new median and signs at the crossing.
It's essentially a 90% improvement. You know, we still get about a half a dozen horns a day, as you just heard a few minutes ago. And if it's about a half a dozen that blow the horn, that's a 90% reduction. Yeah. And so I'm saying, okay, the cup is a lot more than half full. Some of the members got together and floored me with this very unique memento, which is crushed train horns with the tracks embossed in the back.
Interestingly enough, Joe Rosenberg has used a white noise machine to block out the sound of the passing trains for years. Now he thinks he might just be able to turn it off.
And there's different background noises. You can have waterfall, you can have babbling brook. They have one that's a train. I don't use that one. There's more to my life than just a train horn. I just feel at this point like it's a much nicer place to live for people who live close to the tracks.
Up next on the Council in Brief, Clarksburg is in the news again, and this time it's good news.
When the town center is done, we'll have a thriving downtown where people can go, hang out, restaurants to eat at, an active space.